Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. How was everyone? Omaha Dad Games afternoon. Russell, Juicy, hello. Trisha, welcome. Colin, welcome. Um, so I got to apologize about yesterday. Uh, I was a little behind and I really was kind of stressing out. And I decided I really needed the afternoon uh, to get caught up on things. And I don't know where the time goes. I really don't. Between 2 and 5 o'clock, you'd think I'd be able to get a lot done in those 3 hours, but not so much. Not so much. In fact, I was working a little bit later last night, and I'm still behind where I want to be. But the reason I was behind partly is because Saturday afternoon, after we left the shop, Lisa and I both go to the same hairdresser, and so we scheduled our appointments on the same day. It's just easier that way. Um, I can do stuff on my phone just as well while I'm waiting for her as I am, at home. So, and it's sort of on the way home, sort of. It's not too far off the beaten track, and we got a snowstorm on Saturday, and it wasn't a terrible lot, and we got our hair done, and we were coming home, and we were about a mile from home, and there are two roundabouts back to back, and then a short road. I mean, a short road, and we're at the house, and we're hunkered down for the weekend, and uh, on the first roundabout, which thankfully is the small roundabout, not the huge, massive 3-lane roundabout. Um, as I'm going and taking the second exit, as they say, um, the road curves to the left, obviously, because it's a roundabout, and that's what roundabouts do. My car did not curve to the left. My car went straight and continued to go straight until I rammed straight into a curb, rendering my car uh, essentially useless. Thankfully, there were no other cars involved. I was able to um, make it back through the next roundabout, and then I turned off on a side street uh, to call the insurance company. But yeah, my um, the axle is. I haven't heard back from the repair shop yet, but the axle was definitely pushed back on the right hand side. I'm pretty sure that right tire is fried, um, and and it was like 1:30 in the afternoon, and the rental car place, which is like a mile away, had closed at noon, and the dealership had closed at noon, and yeah, we were both okay. We were both okay. No airbags went off. I mean, it was only like a 10 or 15 mile an hour accident. Uh, but I mean, it hit the curb like nothing else, man. I mean, it didn't go over. It just hit the curb, and I'm actually surprised the airbag didn't go off. Um, um, but I was able to drive like another block. Hey, Jason. Yeah, that does suck. And it was like, yeah, it was a bit of a shock. And we're like, and I was tired and I was hungry, and you got to go to the bathroom. And you're like, I've been on the side of the road for an hour before waiting for AAA, and we got a new insurance agent because I don't know if it's probably nationwide, um, but there's a little bit of unfairness, in my opinion, in the insurance industry. Um, if they see you have a bankruptcy, it doesn't matter why you have the bankruptcy, your rates go up. So we had to get a new carrier through our agent, who's a Penn guy, who I'm converting to be a Penn guy, to find one that wasn't going to, penalize us for having, had bad luck. And so we got a new carrier, and they asked the most ridiculous questions. I couldn't believe it. And but the tow truck guy was there within like 30 minutes. I mean, it was really super quick. And like I said, we were maybe a mile away from the house, so he drove us to the house, took care of the car for us. But we had to wait until Monday to get a rental car, which is covered, thankfully. And then we called them right away at 8:00, and then they said, "Yeah, well, we're going to be about an hour." So it was like 9. So I mean, they're open at 8, and we called at 8, and they already had, because they'll come and pick you up. But they couldn't pick us up till like 9:15. Lisa works she's got to be at work at 7:45. So we had already called her boss, said it wasn't going to happen. So they picked us up at 9:15. I mean, we were kind of out by 9:45. We're here by 10, almost 2 hours late. I can say 9:45. We're about 2 hours late. Indy, good afternoon. Yeah, not like we don't have enough going on. Yeah. I mean, it's just dumb luck, right? It's just dumb luck. And we got the new car, and I'm just waiting for the dealership to call me back. That's kind of a thing. And then the insurance company is sending me these automated texts that are driving me bonkers. Like, I'll never take it. If I didn't have to have insurance with these people, I wouldn't have insurance with these people. I get why they're sending me texts, but come on. So anyway, we'll see. I don't know what the damages are. I got a $500 deductible, and I know it's going to be over $500. But it is what it is, right? What are you going to do? And it's just so weird, because I'm really good driver in winter, and that's why Lisa makes me drive, because I've lived here all my life, basically. I know how to drive in the winter, and it literally took me by surprise. I'm like, I just couldn't believe I could not stop. It was just. But anyway, so that's why yesterday I got into work, and I was, we probably would have come in on Sunday to take care of some of the shipping, but I had a ton of orders to do, and barely finished in time for our postal carrier to come pick up, and then I was like, I got ink samples to do, because we got Kyono Auto ink in last week, and Visconti Blue and Sepia ink came in last week. Finally, I've had them on order. I've had Visconti Blue and Sepia ink on order since July or August, for sure August. It finally came in, and then I double ordered blue, of course. So if y'all need, Visconti Blue is a fantastic color, and the new bottle is pretty cool. So, you don't have a valid license, but you have to be on your wife's car insurance, which means I'm categorizing charged as an unsafe driver despite have no intention of driving. Oh man, I hate insurance. I really do. So, and then yesterday my daughter came in to do some photography, so I had to pick out. We didn't have any stock photography per se, so that means it's time to catch up on vintage, new vintage, and consignment. So I got most of the rest of one consigner stuff photographed yesterday, so that stuff should be hopefully ready by Friday. There's some interesting, inexpensive things there to look for. And then, and I picked out maybe a dozen vintage pens. Good afternoon, Gabriel. A dozen interesting vintage pens that I think. I mean, normally I just say here's a binder, just start from A and shoot to Z. But I handpicked them this time. that stub nib Schaefer that we did last week or the week before, that flat top, that's going up. Should be up for sale on Friday. So we're going to do those on the podcast on Friday afternoon. And I'll make them available during the podcast. So give the podcast listeners first crack. Also, reminder, I saw a note in the YouTube chat, the pop-up, the holiday pop-up shop that we're calling it, is December 15th through the 20th. So it's a Monday through a Saturday. Monday through Friday is noon to 5. Saturday 10 to 2. No appointment necessary. Just come in noon to 5. If you come in earlier, I prefer you not, because I got to get the rest of my stuff done. But noon to 5. If you need to come in earlier, I sure would appreciate scheduling an appointment for that, if that's okay. But otherwise, 15th through the 20th. So I'll keep reminding you all of that, just in case there's any local folks, and I think there might be some in YouTube there. So got that going on, and it looks like I'll probably have, I'm still working on finalizing a purchase of a collection, which is going to have a bunch of cool stuff that we can have for that. So fingers crossed that pulls out in the next couple of days. Then it just needs to get here. Just sent me pictures of trees they decorate in the 2 rotaries in Augusta. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they decorate the roundabouts here, but I decorated it with my VW, so. But anyway, let's see. What else? Any other news I'm trying to think of here? The mustache is gone. Fun story on that. I actually shaved it off early. I shaved it off Friday afternoon. The potato wars went. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute too. I guess we got some catching up to do, don't we? I guess it's been since last week Wednesday. I was sitting here this morning thinking, well, I don't even know what we're working on. So at least I had a doctor's appointment Friday afternoon after the podcast. So we got home. And I don't remember if we ate. I don't remember what we did, but we got home and she got her stuff together. And then she went out to go to the doctor's appointment. And I think she was going to do some grocery shopping or something. And the minute she left, I shaved. Come home. And I was tempted. I said, well, yeah, I'm going to see how long it takes her to notice. But I didn't want to make it necessarily easy on her, so we had dinner. Nothing. We'll watch some TV later on in the evening. At dessert, nothing. Wake up in the morning, I'm like, surely in the morning this is going to happen. Breakfast, nothing. Come into work. We're here at work for like 2 hours, 3 hours. I mean, we're working right across from each other, shipping packages. Nothing. We get to the hairdresser's place, and she goes in first and she does her thing, and then she has to sit and let it. I don't know whatever she does. It has to sit for a little bit, and then the hairdresser does my hair then, and then when I'm done, it's time to pick up Lisa again. And I get in the chair, and Lisa looks at me and she goes, "You shaved it off." It was like 20 hours, 21 hours. And I knew the hairdresser was going to be the point. And I thought, if I can make it past the hairdresser, I'm clear till Sunday at least. And she did spot it. She was, she's got nothing else to do. She was staring in the mirror and she noticed I had shaved it off. So you had a gray goatee and you shaved it and took 3 days for your family or work to notice. That's awesome. We had a bet going though, me and my friend Hans, whether or not we were going to hit 48 hours, and it hit about 20 hours, and then she noticed, and that was that. So potato wars, yeah. So Thanksgiving potato wars. We did vote. we voted we're going to do potato wars again next year. So let's see. I made mashed potatoes the old-fashioned way. Milk, garlic, butter, garlic. When you were young, your dad shaved his beard. You almost called 911 because you thought a stranger broke into your house. I did mashed potatoes and scalloped potatoes, cheesy scalloped potatoes. My son brought. He's not a cook. I think he brought maybe the. I mean, I can't vote for my own, right? Mashed potatoes are good, but but I think he made maybe the tastiest little side dish with kind of diced potatoes with spices and stuff, and he baked them in the oven, and they were fantastic. Really, I would, if we were going to give a gold medal, I would probably give him the gold medal on that, because that was really good, and we were all kind of surprised because like I think it was last year he just made instant mashed potatoes or something, but he did a good job. My daughter's fiance made oh heck, what are they called? Potato gnocchi. Made gnocchi. And then as a kind of a part of a joke, brought a couple of sauces for them, and one of them was a potato sauce made out of potatoes and I don't know, a bunch of other stuff. So that was that. Almost everybody forgot their pies. We had an apple pie that Lisa got from her boss. We left it here at the shop in the fridge, and our daughter and her fiance got to the house and realized they had forgot to bring the pumpkin pie, so they actually went. They went to the grocery store and picked one up. So you had your beard for years. Your son would freak out if you didn't have one. You've had it for 10 years and he's 9. Yeah. The gnocchi was really an out of box choice. Yeah, I would probably rate it higher, except the problem is. It wasn't it wasn't like fresh out of, off the oven. It was, it made it. And then of course, then they drove and it's 20 minutes here. And then we tried to heat it up, but it's not quite as nice as it could have been. But it was definitely tasty. Good time was had by all. So, I think that's it. I think that's it for the news. Should we see what we got for, I did get a pen. Let's take a look here. I've got a snorkel I got to finish up. I actually started this yesterday. So it's almost done. I like, well, I had to do it, but I didn't want to turn the stream on just for a snorkel. We've got some Conklins, we've got that old Edison, and we've got that Parker desk set to do. And then also, I did manage to pick up a collection of pens on, what was it, Thursday? I think it was Thursday afternoon. Some pencils, some reasonably, nothing too high end, but so there's a couple pens in there. There's a 51, there's a snorkel, there's a couple pens in there that I'm gonna attack pretty soon here. And and I got a new consignment lot, and maybe if you want to see those, I'll bring that in. And it's a different kind of consignment lot. It's about 55 pens, I think it is. But it runs the gamut from, half of it is fountain pens, but the other half are roller balls, ballpoints, and mechanical pencils, matching pieces to the fountain pens. So this collection, this person who collected these bought everything in sets, including a four-piece Montblanc Bordeaux set. fountain, roller, ballpoint, and mechanical pencil. So we can maybe when I need to get a refill or something, we'll go tackle that. So your Mountain Dew reminding you Baja Blast Midnight is Mountain Dew flavor with passion fruit and lime. You know, I think it was last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I had run over to the local Taco Bell, which is right across the street, and they've got a real inexpensive lunch. And we got up to the window, and they said, "Well, we're going to throw this out, but if you want it, you can have it." And I think it was the Baja Blast, and I tried it, and it was something else. All right. I just want to get this together and test this, and this can go back. I did have a conversation with a good friend of mine who I need to call back, but I was like 3 minutes away from the podcast on Friday, and I was talking to him on the phone, and um, he I believe he's now retired, and he is now making pens is his living, and we discussed lathes. And we have decided that my lathe is inadequate for the need. So, it's like, well, I said, I gotta cut you off. I got a podcast to do. He said, well, call me back. I'll tell you what lathe you need to buy. Because the problem is I'm missing some parts that are going to make it work, and it might be costly and hard to find appropriate parts. So it's easier just to buy a new lathe, is what it boils down to. Which I was kind of leaning toward, because I knew I was like, I need to get what I need to get and be done with it. But when you start looking at lathes, there's a million different options, from cheap to holy cow. Okay, I think that's filling. So I don't know about you all, but we still have Thanksgiving leftovers in the fridge. I had them for lunch. We still have a little bit of turkey left, mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy. Lisa likes the cranberry in a can. Okay. Actually, I suspect it's going to be another 2 or 3 days of leftovers. Need to set this. It's usually best if you do this outside of the pen, but that is too far out. So I'm actually going to take this out. And if you try to do what I just did to push it in, sometimes that works, but usually what you end up doing is you hit the spring and then it doesn't really. And that's probably about right. It's not quite. It's just so fiddly. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of shellac on there. My insurance agent tells me that he had 10, I don't know if it was including us, he had 10 other clients that had accidents over the weekend. So All right, we're going to let that sit. Tomorrow we'll seal it up. It'll be good to go. Good to go back. All right. I gotta hide something on the right side here. All right, so this is where we were. What's a good method of cleaning a clogged snorkel tube? What you need number one, let it soak. Take it out. If you can't blow through it, this is what you need. I don't know exactly what this is. Piano wire, maybe. This might be piano wire. It's too thick for like a violin E string or something. But either that or a violin E or an A string. That's real fine. This sometimes is actually a little bit, this is thicker than a violin E string, but it has a little bit more structural rigidity. But sometimes this is a little bit too big sometimes. But yeah, a violin E or an A string, and let it soak in water, or you can soak it in Dr. G's too. That will be a good option for you. And then run that through it until you can get it all the way through, and then keep flushing and blowing through it. That's all I do. There are 2 pens underneath here. We're going to look at those in a little bit. This is what we had left over from last week. Obviously we got them done. Doug uses a guitar string. Yeah. I love this pen. This pen is awesome. Number 6 size Edison, mottled hard rubber, faceted. I mean, everything about this is super cool. But these are clearly You're welcome. What a huge sack this is. Okay, I'm going to set them there. I want to use heat on them because I don't want anything to happen. That's quite a rare piece. What do we got here? 25p, I think this is. Although it might be something different. Might not be a 25p because it's got this, so it might be a 252p. I don't know. That's going to need some heat. And this is what? This is a 30. I'm still learning that system, so it could be actually like a 302 or something because it's got this big cap band with the C after it. So my daily request, if anybody's got the Alfonso Muir Conklin book and is interested in selling, let me know. I don't know how many were made, but printed, but not enough. The recommended repair book for Schaefer. I mean, pretty much most everything you need is probably going to be in the what is it? The Oldfield book. But it is good to have if you have any old Schaefer repair manuals. I think somebody does a reprint of some of those. Check the PCA website reference library for those. And Caleb, another a good tip for the, particularly for the frugal amongst us, myself included, is befriend yourself a student violinist or somebody who works for a music store, because they throw those strings away. You know, you get a broken string, they replace it. I mean, there's a garbage can full of them. You know, and you're going to need to cut. You're going to need to cut it off anyway. So, this 30 is awesome. All right. Let's see. Do I have? Well, I got the heat gun on. We got this guy I want to assemble. Basically, we're all there. Because if I do this one, we got a super cool desk set that we can put up for sale next week. And it'll have to be next week, unfortunately, because my photography for the week is done on Mondays. You picked up a 48 Red Ripple Safety in perfect condition. Could not be happier. Did I see that on Facebook? Did I see that correctly? Did you buy that for like €100? Something insane like that? I thought I was lucky running across the 58 earlier this year. Congratulations. Either way. I mean, if there's two people that got Red Ripple 48s in the last week, then yeah, let's look it up for the rest of it. Yeah, $108. That's insane. Was that eBay? I felt guilty paying what I did for the 58. Well, congratulations. I you may have used up your share of good luck, but man, that's the way to do it. That was a reserve price. No one else bid. That's nuts. That's so cool. Good for you, man. Ah. I would have been I would have been pooping my pants when that when the timer is ticking down. It was like the one time I was bidding on an auction for a red hard rubber Aiken Lambert made Esterbrook Relief 314. It was on Christmas Day, I think. And Lisa and I had taken the kids down to Madison to watch The Hobbit. And they had one of these special theaters that did this special, I forget what it was, so I'm not even going to attempt to act like I remember. Special frame rate. I don't remember if it was 60 frames or 90 frames a minute or something. I don't remember what it was, but per second. But they did The Hobbit in this special extra frame rate, and it was supposed to be so cool. And so we drove down to Madison, which is a solid 2 hours for us. Took the kids. The kids had no idea what we were doing, and there was like almost nobody at this movie theater. And we watched The Hobbit. I think it was in 3D too. So we had the glasses, and they actually were pretty decent glasses. They weren't, the plastic things we had when we were, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s when we were kids. They were decent glasses. And we saw that. And then on the way home, this auction ended. And it was like, there was only like a little piece of the pen, like in the upper corner of the auction list. It just evaded every picture, a solid shot, but I knew what it was. Never seen one before, but I could make out exactly what it was, and it had to be. And I was starting to get nervous, and Lisa's like, "Do we need to pull over? do you need to pull over so you can, bid higher and do whatever you need to do?" I'm like, "No, this is good. We're good. I can't bid any higher." And I don't remember what I wanted for, but it wasn't not nothing, but it was nothing. That was a cool pen. Basic caveats to buying vintage. There's a lot. I'm going to say something that I don't want it to come across as, I mean well in saying this, but I see a lot of people who buy vintage and think that they, just because they've been around the hobby a while, they know what's going on. They know how stuff is supposed to work. And they think they know. Be open-minded that you don't know anything about vintage. That's the biggest thing. Because if you don't know anything about vintage, you don't know anything about vintage. You might know a little bit, but you don't really know. I mean, it takes years and years to really get a handle on stuff. Even if you have an intense focus on one model of one brand of, an 8-year period or something. The number one assumption that you can safely make, and they always say don't make assumptions, but the number one assumption you have to make, I say it's required. Yeah, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. It really is. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I really don't. But we've been using, I see this all the time. Oh, I've been using pens for 10 years. Okay. What have you been using? Cartridge converters. Okay. You have no idea how Snorkel works. You have no idea how a lever filler works. You don't know what's different about a crescent. The one assumption you have to make, though, is that the pen doesn't work. It will need to be restored. Unless you're buying from a known entity. And that's a tough one for a lot of people because they don't know who is and who isn't. And a lot of people will say, "Well, I restored the pen." Well, did you? I mean, I I've had to repair restored pens. So, and I'm not saying I'm the best pen repairer in the world. Far from it. There are people I send pens to. I can do what I can do, and I can do it reasonably well. Um, and I have knowledge that I've accrued over the last 27 years. But if you assume it needs to be, if you buy it off of eBay, there's like a handful of people on eBay that are qualified experts, and if you buy it from them and they say it's restored and ready to go, you're good to go. You're starting off fixing lever fills and plan to progress to piston and vacuumatics. Then we'll attempt a snorkel. Yeah. I don't even do pistons. I had a brief moment like last year or the year before, I can't remember, where I went to a show and I bought like 10 or 15 piston fillers. I said, well, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna learn how to do this. I just decided it was not for me. And I ended up giving them all to Mike Kennedy, and then he repaired what he could and sent the rest back and said, these are no good. But most people can do levers, they can do vacuumatics, they can do snorkels. If you're mechanically inclined, do not assume that you are inclined enough to do a repair. And if you're mechanically inclined, buy the right tools. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody who is mechanically inclined who tried to remove a vacuumatic filling unit because, they've got stuff in the garage. We had one earlier this year. Some of you may remember it. They didn't stop when it started coming apart. I mean, he never got it out. It was, or maybe he did. I can't remember. And it is an exceptionally valuable pen, a red Maxima, intended for the South American market. I think it had two-tone flexible nib. I mean, it was, yeah. So, assume it needs to be repaired and do your research. Part of my vintage pen buying 101 seminar that I've given a couple of times. Unless it's something exceptionally rare, don't buy something don't buy somebody else's problem. If the tipping is missing, unless you got the nib, which I'm guessing you don't, if the cap is cracked, I mean, and cracked caps, fine. Just don't pay full price. Maybe on the stream I should just do that seminar someday on the stream because it's about an hour long. Nib work is for the professionals. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it takes a long time. Here's the long and short of it. So here's a pen. A pen is 3 parts. 3 parts. And that's how you need to think about it. It's the cap. It's the nib. And it's the barrel. Okay? Any damage to any of those 3 parts reduces the value of that pen by 1/3. If the nib's missing, if the nib is cracked, if the tipping is broken, if it's bent, reduces the value, the retail value of that pen by 1/3. If the cap has a crack, it is no longer worth 100% of what it should be. Now, in some cases, like in this case, you're not going to find, I would never find a replacement cap for this. It is just not humanly possible. Do they exist? Yeah, probably. But you're not going to find it. Now, if it's like a Schaefer snorkel, a touchdown, or something that, lots of caps are made that are interchangeable, then you got a better choice. But see, you have to know that, right? But if you say, okay, well, I've got a snorkel and the cap is the clip is pulled out, well, it's not an easy repair and it's cheaper to replace the cap. Okay, so you can replace the cap if it's a snorkel, but you really only have 2/3 of a pen. So if you think of your pen in 3 parts, and if you have some kind of idea what retail value of that pen is, don't pay retail value for something that doesn't have all 3 parts that are in good shape. You're taking a gamble on Rosewood Wall Death Set on eBay. The listing said it was an Esterbrook. You have a spare nib and feed for that model, so having a broken feed wasn't a huge deal. Yeah, and that's more of an advanced thing too, right, Gabriel? You've got parts in the bin behind you, and you know what you got. Like I had, when I went to, a perfect example, I went to Ohio, and I saw on a guy's table a Parker 51 Flighter with the incorrect cap. I knew, sitting in my bin for the last 10 years, I got the right cap. But if you were to buy that pen and you were to pay retail price for that pen and it's got the wrong cap, well, yeah, it's still going to write. But why did you pay retail price for a pen that's not 100%? See what I'm saying? eBay don't provide complete pictures, or they're sold as is without saying what the problem is. Tends not to be a good deal. Yeah, usually. Usually some of them are as close to being helpful as they can without committing. Not a pen expert. There was a Esterbrook twist filler of all things. Went for sale. Auction finished on Sunday on eBay. If you know anything about Esterbrook, that's the rarest Esterbrook there is, bar none. I mean, in New Jersey made. Not hard rubber pre V clip days. That's a different story altogether. But that's the rarest Esterbrook ever made, is a twist filler. There's only 6. You need 6 to complete the collection, and there was one, and it was heavily damaged, and the pictures were terrible, and they had the wrong nib. And you'll never find another barrel for it, and it won't work. And you have to know that about what you're hunting. We always used to say, a long time ago, we always used to say, buy the book before the pen. And that's a tough one for a lot of people because some of the books are really expensive. And some of the books are very outdated, and almost all of the pen books are out of print. And usually the only time that you can get some of these books is, unfortunately, when another pen collector dies. And you see it, and you can pretty much guarantee it when you go to a pen show and there's a table and there's a stack of books. You know what happened. Somebody passed away, their spouse has got all the stuff, and they've given it to somebody to sell, and there's a stack of books. Buy every book you can. I'd rather see you have a beautiful library of books than to have, to show off on Reddit or Facebook or whatever, your collection of 15, 20 vintage pens where everything's wrong with some of them, or there's something wrong on everything, Yeah, beware of pens with very few photos or distance shots, or no cap off shots, or no cap. I mean, you just can't find parts. They're just, missing parts for any of these 3 pens. Forget it. I mean, yeah, they're available. Crescent's not a rare pen, but it's 100 years old. I mean, parts exist, but do you ask yourself whether or not you want to start collecting parts, because that's what you're doing. All right, these guys are done. Since they're mine, I'm not really gonna I'm not going to test them. I don't need to test them. That's beautiful, though. That's a really beautiful pen. Love it. All right, I got a new pen. And this one we are going to test, though. We'll test that later. I got a new pen over the weekend, or actually yesterday it came. And I'm sad to see, or to not see, I guess is the case may be. My buddy Hans is not in the chat. You'll probably see this on the replay. So I do want to give props to Hans for finding this for me and picking this out for me. This is really an exceptional piece. And I really was like, look at this pattern. Is that not outrageous? This patina on here is fantastic. The little ring top. And it's made by one of my favorite companies of the golden era. The nib is a disaster. It's got a very big crack. And it actually was severely bent, but I straightened it out. This is the Edison fountain pen from Petersburg, Virginia. And you can actually see the imprint right here on the overlay. And I didn't really think about it. This is an eyedropper. So, I mean, it's early. It's very early. Raised threads. Very simple feed. But the star pattern is super cool. It was more than I probably should have paid, but as they say, the opportunity presented itself. It will not come again. So these two are siblings here. So, along with that, this also is an Edison pen from Petersburg, Virginia. And this one is engraved on the lever, engraved on the clip, and engraved around the barrel here. But this is I mean, look at this. This overlay is outstanding. Sorry about the lighting here. No engraving on the cartouche there. But how beautiful. Look at this. You recently got a Bell Systems Esterbrook, and it's so interesting to me. They're not rare, but just as interesting piece of history. You know what is rare? You can get a rare Bell Systems, believe it or not. If I were a betting man, I would say, Caleb, your pen is black. And it is probably the full-size J. They made them in LJs too. They also made them in red. I missed out on a red one once. And they made them in desk pens. Red's pretty uncommon. I've only ever seen one. In desk pens, yeah, forget it, you know. So anyway, this is another Edison. And this is one of those cases where if we're talking about buying vintage, somebody decided to do this travesty with the vent hole, or not even with the vent hole, because there's a vent hole. I don't know why they drilled a hole through it. That's the inner cap there. Thankfully, it is on the back. I mean, small victories, right? So we don't see it. But this is a case of you're not going to see this pen ever again. So this is one of those cases where, yes, this sort of, under my previously set of rules, this is damage to the cap, which means it affects a third of the price. But this pen is kind of, Hans would probably tell me this is rare. I would probably have a tendency to agree with him. It's a pretty rare piece, and rare does not equate to value. You're never gonna find another one. Now, why do we have it here? This pen has a Waterman nib in it. I happen to have, and I don't know if it's the right size, but we'll take a look. I have an original Edison nib. So what we're going to do is very carefully take this pen apart. Resack it, might as well. And see if this nib will fit. It looks a little slim. It looks like it would probably be a good replacement for this guy. But even that, it looks long. So it seems narrower than the Waterman nib. But I guess I'd have something that's not quite right as opposed to something that is definitely wrong. Well, let's see. Let's take a look. You're correct. Yeah, it's a Black J. Yeah. And it did make some LJs. It's not as common. I got a couple on the website now. They extended them much later into the post 55 Esterbrookes, the ones that, like even the USA Esterbrookes, USA clips. I'm pretty sure this pen has been opened before, but look at that. Even actually has a good sack in it. Just going to get the rest of this old shellac off. A really thin section nip on this, so we have to be careful when we knock this nib out. I'm just gonna give it a. It looks clean. It looks like it was never. It was restored and then and put away. You picked up some Maybe Todd Swan hard rubber pens. They have an unusual clip that goes around the bottom of the pen. Bottom, huh? That's weird. So I'm going to heat up this section because it was really pretty tight. It could be tight because the nib is too big. They're too thick. It's not the right size. It goes down too far. I don't see any ink residue in there, so I don't think that's the case. Feels like it's moving, but it's not really moving that much. I'm just heating this up so maybe it will round itself out instead of being slightly over oval. So there was some ink on there. There wasn't a lot, but if you're not going to soak it, you need to heat it. So Mm. Unfortunately, this nib, the slit is cut off center. I don't know if you can see that. It goes at an angle off to the left. Or the hole was drilled off center, one of the two. You know, you're looking at it from a modern perspective, but I find ring top pens to be a really bizarre historical artifact. Give the ladies pockets. Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. There's the got a kind of an unusual feed. It comes in a little bit narrow on the sides, but I think I would rather have. It's not going to look too out of ordinary with this pen. So, well, you know, men had small pockets too, right? I don't think women were the sole market for ring tops. I think you had, you know, I remember Parker made vest pocket pens, with and without clips. All right, so now we're gonna play musical nibs because now I got a really nice added to this pile. I don't remember what that came off of. I think that came off of Conklin. That's a Schaefer 325. We got a nice Waterman number 2. That's kind of a later Waterman number 2. But men could put a pen in their horizontally in their vest pocket, where they couldn't, put a bulgy full size or oversized pen. That's true. Your first exposure to them was old and advertising a ringtone pen that you could attach to your lady's necklace. That's probably culling your view. I mean, a vast majority, you're correct. Vast majority are marketed towards ladies, but they weren't the sole users of them. All right, I'm going to clean this nib off, but I'm going to do it on the pen. because it's cracked significantly. I just don't want it to. I mean, I could knock it out, but I can do this with minimal problems. And then put it in the ultrasonic and but these nibs are super thin. I mean, look how thin that is. And that's a pretty hefty crack. My concern's maybe not getting it out, but getting it back in. So I'm gonna yeah, it's funny. This arrived yesterday. I didn't even notice that it was an eyedropper. Didn't even care. Like I've never seen an Edison that wasn't a lever filler. But it does have these early raised threads and yeah. And I know there's some of you out there that just won't just can't possibly understand having a pen and not using it, but this is what I do. Yes, I use pens. I use them every day. But this is like really the area that I just love. I love stuff like this. Overlays, early pieces, eyedroppers. Even though I don't like eyedroppers as a modern choice. I think it's kind of a silly choice because usually the people who are talking about how much they love eyedroppers and how great they are, you're like, you don't have another pen? You don't like it, but you like buying their cast-offs, yeah. I mean, I used to when I was in grad school, I had the near perfect, what I thought was the near perfect setup. I had a Levenger 4-pen case, one pen, which always happened to be a 1938 Esterbrook Morocco red $1.50 pen, and that always had Sanford. Believe it or not, I think it was Sanford Cardinal Red in the pen. And then I had two other fountain pens, usually Esterbrook's, lever fillers. You know, never a snorkel, never a vacuumatic. I wasn't into that kind of thing back then. Some kind of lever filler, and then a pencil. So, you know, when all else failed, I'd resort to a pencil because I know you can't possibly run out of pencil. How about Opus 88? I just don't, I don't see that. For me, there is no situation that I need to have an eyedropper in modern usage. That, and even though I have very limited ink choices, I do have some inks. I don't have a lot. I got, less than 10 colors maybe, all some variation of blue or black, right? But I don't find it necessary to have that much ink capacity. Custom A23 is not for me. It's too much ink. Now it's perfect as a tester pen in the store because, when we had the store, because I don't need it to run out of ink, but, Can a nib with a crack like that be fixed, or is it a case of managing any future damage? Well, that's sort of like the cap on this one, right? It's a third the pen. But you can't find them. I mean, the fact that I had a nib for this pen is outrageous. And now I no longer have a spare nib. So, I was kind of like, well, part of the beauty of this was I had the nib. Apparently I paid $55 for it. But can it be fixed? Yeah, it could be fixed, but there's nobody that really does the work now. And you can't, I mean, finding another one it's not impossible. And Edison has never been a primary focus for me. I mean, things may change. Who knows? I mean, it's kind of one of those fun challenges because there are so few of them that you're not going to overspend yourself because you're not going to find 10 at a show. You'll be lucky if you find one at a show. And you have to hunt for it because we don't know what they look like. I mean, I haven't seen a normal, I've never seen a black hard rubber Edison, ever. I've seen mottled, and this one's got facets. I've seen red hard rubber. I've seen overlay, eyedropper with an overlay. I mean, I don't know what a normal Edison is. So in this case, there's not an abundance of them. You might get lucky and you get something that the cap is missing and the barrel's broken, and you say, okay, well, I can steal the nib from it. But the chance of that happening is pretty slim. So it could be fixed, but we need somebody to. I mean, I've had this conversation with Linda Kennedy. I don't know how many times now. I can't get her to invest in. I had the conversation with Hans too. I mean, it's a significant 5-figure investment in the equipment, just in the equipment. And then you got to know how to do it. And then you have to slit it, and then you have to polish it and grind it and polish it. So even if we had the equipment, you got to have somebody who's, got enough years left in them. I mean, they would instantly have more work than they can handle. Right? Because we would all send them 100 nibs to do. And it's not an easy process. It's not quick. Madashaw used to do it. He was the master. But, there was a guy in Spain that used to do it for a while, and he dropped off the face of the earth, apparently. So, anyway, that's that. Let's see how this nib is doing here. In this case, I'm not planning on using it, obviously, so I just want it as presentable as possible. I would love to knock it out, but with how long of a feed this is, you've got to push that all the way through quite a length. Wouldn't it be nice if cleaning a nib was as easy as cleaning a spark plug with the spark plug cleaning machine? I mean, this is just outstanding no matter how it is. All right. That's it for those guys. We're going to test that. There's our base that we cleaned up the other day. In addition to our earlier conversation about buying vintage, I can sit here and proselytize all I want about buying books and doing your research in advance, but the fact of the matter is, one other thing that you need to be aware of, and you need to be ready for, is you need to understand this one thing. This one thing in addition to all the other one things. You're going to make mistakes. And I don't want you to make mistakes, but I want you to make mistakes. I want you to make healthy mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, you're paying rent. And you're paying rent towards future you. You know, and typically the way it works is we start out in the small realm of things. We buy under $100, and you know, under $100, it's hard to go wrong unless you're buying wherever's for $100, you know, or Stratford's or whatever. It's hard to go too wrong. You haven't spent too much money. You know, you don't want to make a mistake buying a $1,000 pen. And it's not, and this came up earlier, pens are not an investment. They should never be treated as an investment. There are very few people on the planet that are ever going to make money buying pens. I am one of those people. Very few people will be able to do it. You have to buy, to make money at pens, you have to know a lot, you have to buy a lot, and often. And you have to make a ton of mistakes. And some people just are not willing to do that. Like buying this pen may have been a mistake. Because now it doesn't write. There we go. It probably didn't start because I made an adjustment to the nib, which may have removed some of the ink from the flow. Yeah, this is nice. A little bit of chip on the base there, but in other words, yeah, the only way you make money on pens is if you don't pay for them. But, you know, to do that, you got to buy. You know, you got to buy lots. It's the same with art. You'll never improve if you're scared of messing up. That's fantastic, Caleb. That's really fantastic. That's a great way to look at it. You know, and you have to buy so much stuff to make the pieces that you keep zero and sell off the rest. And then, so that's the other part of it. If you want to have it as an investment, you have to be good at selling. And if you have to sell to make the pens you keep an investment, then you have to be able to repair them. You can't afford to send pens off all the time, because it really cuts into your profit margin and your ability to buy more pens. And some deals, quite frankly, are better than others. And it's not always about, you know, I've got numbers in my head that I know what makes a deal a good deal. And sometimes you barely scrape, you know, you barely do it. But sometimes you do it because you've got, you know, maybe you've got a client, you know, who wants something. And so, like, I'm in the midst of buying, I don't know how many pens, 50 pens, 100 pens. I don't even know I actually honestly don't know what the number is. But, you know, there's a few pieces in there that I know I'm going to be able to move quickly. Be easy to sell. And the rest of it is just going to end up on this bench, on this stream, you know. But I've got some people looking for certain things, and those certain things happen to be in this collection, so I'll buy it. And if I don't make everything I need to make, well, I've made regular clients happy who will keep coming back. And, you know, and then that counts for something too. But like anything else, the more you do, the better you get. And if you've gone back to step one and you've bought all the books, then, you know, you've got all the research material. And you can keep learning. You know, I mean, I've got the Parker Dual Fold book is literally on my kitchen table. probably much to Lisa's chagrin, but it's on the kitchen table. I mean, and I reference it all the time. Do I have it down? By no means. Do I have everything about dual folds down? But I'm terribly interested in it, in the history. You know, you got to know what's worth buying and what's not worth buying. And once you've got that figured out, actually that's pretty easy. Once you knowing what's worth money and what's not, that's not too hard. That's an easy first step, you know. It goes to my pen buying 101 seminar. First tier, second tier, third tier. You can identify those. Identify the problem areas of the three parts of the pen: the cap, the barrel, and the nib, and what tier the pen is in, an approximate age, and what are the problems for that particular pen or model. That doesn't take too much research, too much learning. The other part is just because you like it doesn't mean somebody else, you know, just because you don't like something doesn't mean somebody else won't like it, you know. In the world of genealogy, there are certain reference books that you need to have in your library collection. Then there are the books that are specific to the state or region you live in. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of good books, and the beautiful part about it is a lot of them are not expensive, but they're going to be very broad scope. Schneider and Fischler books, or Fischler and Schneider books, FNS books, Blue Book, Red Book, When you start getting into brand specific, the Waterman book, the Conklin book, the Duofold book, the Vacuumatic book, the 51 book, then they start getting a little bit more expensive. But the information you get is now highly tuned to a specific model or brand, whereas the generic books they're generic. They've got a little of everything, which can be good because sometimes you can find an Edison in there, one of the early F&S books. Hey, that's nice, huh? Too bad about that little chip, but that looks great. All right. That guy's done. Are there any vintage pens that you avoid like the plague, regardless of how good a deal is? Yes. In terms of brands, yes. Well, not necessarily in terms of brands. More models. I mean, I'm not going to buy any third tier pen. Pretty much any third tier pen is almost no interest to me. Typically, they're your Wherevers, your Stratfords, your Avons, your any number of third tier pens. Now, some of them did have gold nibs, and yes, I've admitted to collecting Wherevers in the past, but they're not worth anything. They're really not worth much. They're unlikely to be even decent writers. So I don't buy those, but amongst the more established brands, like I like Walls. I like early Wall metal pens, the flat tops, but I don't like Wall celluloid pens because they always craze. Dorix, they're beautiful. I mean, it's not a question of if, it's when. I really love the Coronet. I love the red Coronet, the red windowed Coronet, but that's kind of a problem pen. Someday I'll probably get one because it's mostly metal, but yeah, Walls. I don't like Skylines all that much. I mean, I do plenty of them here on the stream, but that inner cap shrinks. The barrels are fragile. No interest to me to collect them. Waterman 100-year pens. I mean, every one, the ends crack and break. It's not really my. I mean, you get past 1930, I'm not really interested. Not much. I mean, really past 1920s, past the flat top era, I don't really, I mean, yes, I've got an oversized balance on my bench, but yeah, Walls, Waterman 100-year pens, anything that is prone to crazing and cracking, I avoid those pens like the plague. There is an exception to that, though. Early Esterbrook $1.50 pens, unfortunately, are all now starting to crack and craze. But they're exceptionally rare compared to, Wall and Waterman. You can't find them. So if you want representative examples, it's uncommon to find them without cracks in the cap. So, and that's about it. I mean, if the price is right, I'll buy just about anything. But as far as keeping it, I don't need to have too many models and brands to collect. All right, now this has been soaking for a week in the Dr. G's. It was clean when it went in there, and it is black as all get out. And you can see it even started to leach out into the rest of the toothpick. Well, it came out on the cap, which I really didn't want it to do, but there's almost no oxidation on this whatsoever. So wonder who E.L. Healy was. Should look him up. So it goes in fairly far. I can see through the clip hole. At least on this side. That didn't sound good. I think what I really need is I need a bigger collet in there, and I think this is kind of frozen on here. I've tried to get it off in the past, but probably something this size might be a little bit better. Try a little heat, maybe. need to find something to get this off with. And pliers is not the answer. The heat ended up pretty hot, so I really want something to grab onto it. The heat I'm using is enough to melt a barrel, so there we go. All right. This is the biggest one. I guess I needed to put that on first, didn't I? Shoot. These are like um, pieces of rubber that are used for. There's another 51. I should probably keep that one out. All right, let's see if this is too big. Nope, not too big. See, what was happening with this small one is the jaws were getting more like this instead of like this because it was too small. This is the largest. Call it. And it's moving. You can't possibly. Yeah, well, here, let's take a look here. So this is good. You can see the end of the inner cap there, and then there's this black space here. So now, had we had that in there before, then actually what we were looking at was not that, was it? I thought for sure that was moving. Well, this might not work. Hey, Glenn, back from a week in Manitoba. I was so hopeful this was coming out. What's coming out of this? Threaded portion. That's what I'm getting out of it. That's the biggest one, too. Well, it's not coming out. I mean, I'm getting fragments of it. So we're gonna try something else. Actually, hang on. Normally I wouldn't use these, but desperate times call for desperate measures. That's too small. I really need something in between. Hey, Ander Vander. I didn't even see it on the screen. Thanks for the follow. I saw Ander and some V's and some Z's. Welcome. Welcome to my struggle fest today. And for the record, one should never use this style of intercap puller. Oh, those don't work. I got one more to try. It's on my bench somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. This isn't much different than this better tool, but you never know one thing's going to work that another one doesn't. Well, the last resort is probably to pick that out, but I don't. This is what? This is a 40, I think. Yeah, this is a 40. They're just not enough to grab onto. This is the majority of the inner cap. Crescent fillers are a new favorite of yours. Such cool pens. Just wish they were less expensive so you could have more. Yeah, I know. A Vander Zanden. That's what it was. I couldn't see it. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see it. Thank you for letting you go. I saw your vids in your YouTube stream and signed up for the newsletter. I'm brand new to Twitch, so apologies in advance. Don't apologize. There's nothing to apologize for. Yeah, I'm very interested in crescents these days. Um, yeah, it's only going that far. That's where the end of the inner cap is, right back here. So it's like it possibly has moved. Now, this isn't a museum example or anything, but crescent fillers like over the size of a 20 or less common. But we need to get that out so we can put this in. And this literally just slides in here and goes up. And sits underneath. And this may be where I defer to somebody else and send this off to somebody and have them pull it. But then I'm still in the situation where I need to make myself an inner cap. Yeah, I think the one thing I like about crescent fillers is, for the most part, well, apparently they did make them up until 1930. Um, every single one is 100 years old. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's try this. Let's put this back in. And then heat the snot out of. Heat the snot out of it. See what happens. Maybe I'm pressing too hard on it. Nope. All right. Well, I don't want to spend all day working on that. I'm gonna put this away. Let's pull some more pens and let's do some other repairs, huh? Well, I could just restore it and put a sack in it and avoid the clip, but that just seems silly. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm in the phase where if a crescent filler shows up and I don't have it, I'll keep it. But I'm probably not gonna. Well, I say that now. Probably not gonna go on my way. All right. Let's take a look. had some options. I did get some new stuff last week, so let's see what we got. All right, a lot of this is all pretty, nothing too exciting. This is got a little bit of shrinkage, but just going to squirt a little bit of grease on there to see if that's going to make it. That's not too bad. Put a new O-ring on there and it might not be too bad. Well, that nib is kind of butchered. I'm going to 51 special. We can do that. That'll be all right, huh? Do that. Here's a new old stock Lifetime. We can do that. There's a snorkel that looks complete. And do those two. What else we got in here? '21s. That might be okay. Nice SM Deluxe in gray. Later threaded cap model. No, that's got a crack in it. Okay. These were kind of cool. Super late. Eversharp. These have. No, they don't have. Eversharp Fifth Avenue in the previous box. I don't think so. No, there's no Eversharp in here. This is actually a weird late Schaefer. That. These are Schaefer cartridge pens over here. Another 21 is probably broken. Broken 21. So these are identical. Oops, there's your cue. It uses the Parker Super Late. It's got the Parker Aero logo on the back. Eversharp E clip. And it's weird because it looks like it should go down further, but it doesn't. It goes down that far. All right. Well, we're going to start with that. Since some of these are cartridge pens, we should be able to. I'm going to put them in the big shaper tray here. There we go. So we'll start with those because these will be the easiest. Um, this teal is pretty. I vocally not a fan of 21s, but it's a pretty color. Those are super weird. I don't know that I can't recall ever seeing those before. And that's always a good color. And unfortunately, the hood is always discolored, but this, I think once we clean it up, maybe it won't be so bad. No, I think I see a crack. Well, it's definitely a crack. It's not leaking out for some reason, like I would expect it to, but it doesn't warrant any further investigation. At least for now. So what I need to do is be better about taking pens and throwing them in the parts bins if they're just parts, because too often I let them sit out and like I think I'm going to do something with them and I never do. So I think there was so much dried ink in there it wasn't actually leaking. Sometimes you wonder if 3D printing could help bring new life into old 21s with bad cracks. Maybe. I mean, they're not terrible writers if you get one that's solid, but this is one of those pens. I guess I would include this along with Wherevers and um, celluloid walls and 100-year pens. I don't buy 21s ever. I don't care what the price is. Because even if you don't think there's a crack, there probably is somewhere. Now, if it comes free as part of a collection, essentially, I mean, it wasn't free, but the price was right on this. And this does not have any cracks. And it writes real nice. A little water, and it really, sack is pretty clean. There's still some ink coming out, so I'm going to leave it filled. It's got that later clip too. Now this is a better choice. This is what is this? A Super 21. It's got the smaller opening. Before I dump these out, I just want to. Ooh, look at oil slick going on there, huh? It's probably Penman Emerald Ruby. Kind of nice, actually. Okay, well, I wanted to test these converters. You still have a bottle of Ruby mistakenly labeled ebony? I hate to throw these in my ultrasonic because they're so nice and white. And my ultrasonic water is really nasty, so I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off on those. Just in case this is a more... I'm not familiar with these. I don't think this converter is going all the way in. There we go. See, that one goes in, snaps in place. Now the question is will the barrel fit? Yes. All right, while we're waiting for that, let's look at these guys, start taking these apart. These are not my favorite, these tuckaways. Only because those barrels do shrink. You hope Schaefer brings back the Triumph nib. Such a cool design, and there's a lot of interest in tubular nibs these days. Yeah, I think we need to be, we need to set our expectations that, we should be happy that they brought the Legacy back. Hans, good evening. He'll bite. What are those white pens? These are really late. I don't know what the model is on these. They're like even post Arrow, Eversharp Arrow, you know, with the integrated nib. Well, not integrated, but non-removable section. You know, I wonder if these fit on a 45 barrel. Not really. Eversharp on the clip, and then the Parker logo on the back of the cap. But it looks like they do fit the Arrow converters. And presumably the piston as well. And since you missed it, yeah, I mean, I've never seen these. Yeah, you don't see that late stuff that often. Since you missed it, this was the spare nib. Sorry about this lighting. They improved the lighting and it sucks. This was the spare Edison nib. I think it looks pretty decent on this feed. I would like it to be a little bit bigger, but it's what I got. I think it's gonna be okay on this guy. And funny enough, I put the ring top away. Yeah, it's close. I think it's close enough. It's better than a Waterman nib. Funny enough, I didn't realize until today that Edison ring top was an eyedropper. So yeah, totally, very early pen. I didn't even pay attention. Didn't care. I just assumed it was a lever filler. But yeah, much to my surprise, a ring top. So that makes it just even more interesting to me. Knowing that there were Edisons out there that are ring tops, or that are eyedroppers. Would be super cool to find. Yeah, it's so interesting. But I straightened out the nib a little bit, cleaned it off, and little micro mesh on the nib itself. Dumped the nib in the ultrasonic after that to clean off any polish that was on there, and cleaned out the barrel, screwed it back together. That's it. Left the patina on the overlay, so just so you know. You're relieving the patina. I know you'd kill me. You'd never buy another pen from me again, would you? Yeah, yeah. But you know, and that's a case where you leave it because the patina it's nice and even. You know, it's not gross on one side. It's, you know, it's beautiful all around. Yeah, it's real thick gold fill too. So cleaned it up. I just put it back in my Yeah, only get that kind of toning after a century in a drawer. Yeah, well, it's back in my little pen travel case, and it's gonna find a home at home tonight. A century in a drawer plus 5 years at an antique store because nobody else wanted it. Or nobody had the smarts to look at it and say, that's worth that much money. It wasn't there in July. Oh, interesting. It was probably part of somebody's estate, and that was that. I just think it's hysterical that I didn't notice it was an eyedropper until today. State Liquidator in Nashville. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not often you find stuff that early that's that good, you know. Sometimes you'll see chased hard rubber, no name pens, and got crappy plated nibs, or maybe they're interesting because they're a coin filler, but they've got a crappy plated nib. But I remember the one time I found a Wirt ring top overlay one time on a trip. It was at the furthest northwest location of the antique mall. I mean, I don't think Lisa knew what the hell happened. All of a sudden, she looked around and I was gone. I said, "Stay right here." Boom. I'm coming back. It was one of those things I wasn't risking somebody else stopping by and getting that. I think the nib on that one was shot too. That may be the only time you ever see such an early and interesting pen at a mall. Yeah. I'm trying to think, other than that Wirt, if I've ever seen anything. I bought that Aiken a month or so ago, but no cap, and I think the tipping on the nib was on its way out. I've seen. I mean, I'm in Parker country, so I mean, I have seen. Mother of pearl abalone shell Parkers and Parker 16s. I've seen Parker 16s, but I mean, they want $1,000 for them or something goofy like that. We had a antique mall Used to be an antique mall in Plymouth, which is a couple hours from here. And Lisa and I would, when we first were together many years ago, we would go down there on occasion. And there was the owner's brother was a pen collector, and he had a large selection of pens, including probably the most outrageous pen I've ever seen at an antique mall. A Parker model hard rubber. Oh, crud. It was either a cable twist or a hexagonal. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was a cable twist. Modeled hard rubber cable twist. Eyedropper. Taper cap, of course. The price wasn't actually all that obnoxious, but he had a lot of really cool pens. Oh my goodness. This may not be an issue. I may not get this pen open. It was a crazy pen. It was a crazy pen. I want to say it was maybe $1,200, which I didn't think was all that crazy, and then the mall closed at some point. And I don't remember if he... No, I totally wanted this thing. That wasn't 15. I would say $1,000 or $1,200. It was over $1,000. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, there was no way at least it was letting me out of there with that, But my goal was maybe I would get it buying out the rest of the collection. So what happened is I think we talked to him on the phone once. I don't think we ever met him in person. But he said, well, I've got a bunch of other stuff, unrestored stuff that I don't have at the antique mall. If you're interested in it, you can buy it all. And then that's when we went down, and there were desk sets, and it was like 50 some pounds of stuff. And we were actually supposed to go down to get it, and something happened. I think it was a combination. I think my cat died, and I lost my muffler in the parking lot at work. And thankfully there was a muffler shop literally like around the corner, like through the backyard kind of thing. But yeah, I think the cat died and the muffler fell off the car. And Lisa had to pick me up. Just so I could get home. So we're like, oh, we're going to go next weekend. But he had an Aiken Lambert half filigree overlay. A couple of really nice number 4 size walls, metal walls. We did end up buying quite a number of pens from him. That was probably the most crazy bunch of stuff we've ever seen. Although there was one stop this summer. Lisa and I went somewhere, and it was... I don't remember where it was, but I remember taking a picture of it thinking there was, I think, a mother of pearl Parker eyedropper and another model hard rubber Parker. I mean, it was nuts. But I mean, it's excusable in that it is Wisconsin. I would love to be able to find a few more um, centuries and what's the other whitewater offshoot? It escapes me right now for some reason. I don't know why it would, but it does. You need to find a modeled hard rubber number 8 size shaper at Antique Mall. And I hope you do someday. I mean, you know, we've got who is it? Gary over here? Yeah, Gary over on YouTube got that modeled 48 safety for $100. Although one might argue that might be easier to find than a modeled hard rubber anything shaper. Probably by a factor of 10. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You know, $100 Waterman 48. Get the lottery ticket while you're at it. I'd be happy with the black hard rubber Parker Lucky Curve 28. That's on my short list. But it's got to be the right price. I'm not paying retail. All right, we got almost 5 o'clock. I'm just going to take these parts out, and then I think we're going to call it a day. My water looks so nasty. Actually, that one nib is still bleeding red ink. So what I might do is I might leave that ultrasonic on with that nib in there. Because I hate to put new water in there only for it to be used up. You just inked up some pens and it's almost time for Christmas cards with your mom. It's your yearly ritual. Hope you have a great evening. Thanks for showing me those. But yeah. Hope you do too. That sounds like fun. All right. Okay, well, we're gonna leave these where they are. We still gotta clean those ivory Eversharps or whatever the heck they are. We'll have to figure out what those are. But we'll start on those once we get a clean water. I'll drop those in because I just don't want to. Who knows what kind of ink? Because I've had pens you put in the ultrasonic before after you got dirty water in there, and then all of a sudden your your yellow pen is now blue, or it's green, or it's things like that. So. We'll do that tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, so same time, same station. Have a great evening, a great afternoon, a great morning, wherever you are in the world. Be kind, be well. Yes, thank you, Evander Zanden. If I pronounced that right. Caleb, have a great night. Yep. Be kind, be well, and we'll catch y'all tomorrow, all right? Take care, everyone.